So it's time for an update of my allotment, because I actually haven't given you a full update for about a good few months now. So I thought you would all like to see what is growing and what is going on plot 15C. So I just thought I'd try out this new style of filming. It's a bit like a vlog, just because I think it'll be a lot easier for me to show you my plot. Instead of having the camera like set up miles away where you can't see any of my vegetables, I thought it would just be easier for me to show you my plot close up like this. So we're going to film it like this, and if it works out quite well, then I'll probably do all my updates like this. I won't do all my episodes like this because it is quite nice to set the camera up on a tripod, but for the updates where I need to show you the whole plot or I need to show you the vegetables, I think this will be easier. So we're going to try it out. So here goes. Now this is the allotment, which you don't usually see this viewpoint, and you're probably thinking, gosh, it's so much smaller than it looks normally. But my plot is literally, I think it's 13 metres by 7 metres, so it's tiny, and it always looks bigger than it is. Now this is the walkway up to my allotment, and the entrance is just over there, because there's the road. I have to walk up here, right to the back of the allotment site, and then my gate is just up here, which desperately needs painting again. And the archway, which is actually a little bit broken, you can see. Oops. I don't think it's going to last as long as I thought it would. And this is it, the allotment. So you actually haven't had an update for a good few months now. I can't even remember the last time that I showed you the plot. I do apologise for not doing an update soon, it's just been a bit hectic. So this is it. So what I'll do is I'll talk about the vegetables first, and then we'll go on to my new fruit cage, and then we'll go on to the flowers and the new little patch over there, which I think I talked about in another video, but I'll quickly go over it again just in case you didn't watch that video. So the vegetables, there are the potatoes. Now these 2 rows are international kidney, and then these 2 rows are Charlotte. The international kidneys are actually dying back, and I actually tickled one of them the other day, and there's some potatoes under there, which is great. So I might harvest them maybe tomorrow and cook them up in the shed with some broad beans or something like that. But they're doing great. They're both early, so they should be harvested soon anyway. Then there's 3 rows of carrots, which I thinned out 2 or 3 weeks ago. They won't be ready yet, but they're growing brilliantly. Now the broad beans are such a disappointment this year. I'm just comparing them to last year when they were literally like 4 foot high. They were, I don't know, like up to here. I mean, I'm 6 foot, but they were really tall, and this year they're 2 foot. They are absolutely rubbish. The crop just hasn't been as much as last year, and I had such a big problem with black fly. I don't know if you can see it on there. Yeah, it's just been so bad. But I mean, I've been getting some crops from there, so it's not been too bad. And there's still a few beans growing, so I'm going to leave them in there for now. But what I'll do is when they're going to come out, there's going to be some dwarf French beans going in there, so I'll be using up the space. And also when the international kidneys come out, I'll be putting 2 or 3 rows, or maybe even 4 rows, I can't remember, I think it might be 3 rows of leeks in there. So I'm trying to use up all the space because it's so small. So there are 2 rows of French climbing beans next door to the broad beans. They're growing well. There's a few flowers on there, which is good, which is what we want to see, and they are growing up as well. Then there's some Swiss chard, which is my absolute favourite. I think you all know how much I love Swiss chard, so I won't go into that too much. This is the rainbow chard, which I always grow just because it looks pretty. And I also put some flowers in between them, just to brighten it up even more. That actually needs picking, and I'm going to make some Swiss chard quiche with that lot. The garlic is next door. I'm a little bit embarrassed by the garlic. I pulled a couple up from the back, just nothing there, rubbish. So garlic, I gave you a second chance. I'm never growing you again. I think our soil is quite chalky as well, which I don't think helps, but I have been watering them, I promise, but I don't know what's wrong with them. But I'm not going to grow garlic again. So this is the brassica bed. Oh, and I'll quickly just mention, actually, when the garlic comes out, which is going to be probably today, there's going to be 1 row of turnip and 1 row of kohlrabi here. So what I'll do is I'll make this brassica bed a little bit longer, just to cover the turnips and the kohlrabi, because there's plenty of net here. It's all rolled up at the side. But inside the net now, there's 1 row of curly kale. Now that's a purple variety called Scarlet. There's also 1 row of red cabbage called Red Drumhead. I grew that last year, that was really nice. And then there's some dill, and there's some nasturtiums and a few flowers there as well. And then there's the pumpkins. So there's the Crown Prince here. He's growing really nicely, his leaves look nice. But the giant pumpkin, let me zoom in. So I put 1 in. He's gone very yellow. I think he might be dead because the bottom of his stalk is really, really black. So what I've done is I saved the spare one, quite luckily, and I've just popped that in next to it, which seems to be growing better than the other one. So there is a lesson there. Always grow a spare, because you never know. But that's all the vegetables. Not that many, but all that I can fit in, unfortunately. And then there's the fruit cage. Ta-da! It's all done. I'm so happy with it. I'm just so glad that it's done. It's only been on my to-do list for like a year, but it's all done. So there is rigid netting on the side. That's stapled on, because that's not going to come off. And then there's soft netting on the top. And what I've done with that is I've used these curtain eyes just to secure the net on, because in the winter that will be coming off, because I don't want, well, if we get any snow, I don't want the snow to be pulling down the netting. There's actually an apple on there already, so it also acts as a Bramley apple catcher, because there's a Bramley apple tree at the back. And what I do need to do is I need to put a door on it, but for now I just cut the net so it covers the doorway, and I'm just putting some wire down there just to secure it so no birds can get in. But I'll probably make the door in like autumn or winter, just when there's not many jobs to do. I can crack on with it, but for now it's going to protect my berries, and that's all that I want. So in the fruit cage we have 4 black currants, so there's 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 here. And then there's 2 gooseberries there, and then raspberries at the end. There are a few black currants on here. Let me see if I can find any for you without my shadow getting in the way. Oh yeah, here. No, they're quite ripe. There's some on here which aren't anywhere near, well, they're not ripe yet. And so I might get a nice little handful of black currants. That will be nice, because last year I didn't get any. I didn't get any fruit from the fruit cage area, because the black currant bushes aren't that old. I think a pair of them are 2 years old, and then the other pair is 1 year old. So they're not very old, so I won't be getting a huge harvest from them at all. But hopefully I'll have enough to make one pot of jam. You never know. The gooseberries have been stripped, completely been stripped. The pigeons, I think, sorted them out. They've completely gone. And what I did do is I threw some net. Over the gooseberries. Hang on, there's a shadow on my face. Oh, that's better. I threw a net over the gooseberries, but the pigeons literally just landed on top of them and they squashed the gooseberry bushes. Oh, I think I can see a gooseberry. Let's have a look. Can you see him? I have a gooseberry. My one and only gooseberry. Hallelujah, I have a gooseberry. I've never tried a gooseberry, so I'm going to savour that one little gooseberry. I'm not going to share him. Also, the raspberries. Last year was their first good year. I think this will be their second year. But last year I was managing to get like a handful of raspberries every time I came up the allotment, so it was perfect really, because I could just scoff them up here, which was great. But they are an autumn variety called Autumn Bliss, so they won't be ready quite yet. But I love raspberries, they are delicious. So that's fruit cage, all done and all dusted. So let's go on to the little wildlife area. So this hasn't really changed much from last year. I mean, I always tend to plant annuals here, so it often changes a little bit because I change my flowers. But there's 4 giant sunflowers at the back, like always. One of them's out and it looks so beautiful. Oh, there's a bee on there. Eat up, little bee. That is exactly why I grow flowers. Because you gotta look after the bees. So there's the Katie's rose at the front here. That's been blooming for a while now. As you can see, it desperately needs deadheading. There's the climbing rose called Penny Lane. There's verbena. There's poppies. There's scabious. There's cosmos. There's Linaria moricana. There's borage. There's gypsophila. There's calendula. There's chamomile, which has flowered. I'm going to put that in my herb teapot. And then there is the grapevine, which is growing so rapidly. I'm so happy with that, because obviously my dog destroyed the last one. He decided to run around the garden with it when I first bought it, and he snapped it, so I got a replacement one and it's amazing. So that actually needs to be secured to the side of the fruit cage, but what I'll do is I'll put some eyes up the sides, run some wire across, and then the grapevine will hopefully cover that, and also hopefully in the future create a nice bit of shade for the pond, because the sun comes up here, goes over there, so obviously the pond needs a little bit of shade because all that duckweed is just crazy. There's a frog there. I don't know why I'm whispering, but there's a frog there. Can you see? There he is! I don't know why I get excited every time I see a frog, because they're out there all the time now. Just so glad I put a pond in, and I do recommend putting a pond in to everyone. One of the best things that I have put in my allotment is the pond. So if you do have space, put in a little pond, because it's great for the wildlife, and it's also great because they eat all the slugs, and I literally have not seen a single slug. I have not seen any slug damage on my allotment this year, so the frogs are doing their job, which is just great, because last year I had a really big massive slug problem, but this year nothing. So put a pond in for the wildlife, and they will reward you as well. Oh, I'll show you the sweet peas on the archway. I don't know if you caught them coming in. Look, there's so many, and they're so beautiful. I need to pick some as well. But there's munchkin pumpkins there. They are really slow growing this year, but there's 3 along each side. And there's also borlotti beans, which this one's growing up quite tall. So the archway is good. Soon it will be completely covered, because last year I actually couldn't walk through there because the Munchkin pumpkins, their leaves obviously are massive. So that's this side of the allotment. And I will just show you the strawberries, because you probably don't want to see my shed. Nothing's changed in there. It's a little bit messy. So the strawberries have been doing great. Now I put manure on these just after Christmas. And of course these cages stop the birds from getting them, they stop the rats from getting them. There's a few red ones in there. I picked them the other day actually. I thought I'd come up the allotment, I'll pick some strawberries for pudding. And I thought, yeah, I'll just pop up the allotments. It won't take me very long. Literally, I was up here for like an hour and my back was breaking. But I managed to pick 7 kilograms of strawberries. So it was worth it. It was literally back-breaking work. But they were delicious. And I actually made some strawberry jam with them. Lots and lots of strawberry jam. But I mean, that's why I grow them, to make jam. And to eat, sorry. We had them with meringues last night. Oh, they were so delicious. You can't beat homegrown strawberries. But what I might do now is I might just put the camera on this tripod and then just talk about that new patch. Because I think I mentioned it in my latest video. The whole plans for this area, because I'm not having chickens now. If you haven't seen my latest video, then I'm not having chickens now. It all came down to time. I just don't have the time to do it, to look after them really, which is such a shame, because I really wanted chickens, but I am being I'm being a serious adult and just being responsible, because I really just don't have the time to look after them, which left me with this whole space. So it's going to be the flower meadow. This is what it's going to be called. I've officially called it that now, even though it's probably not really going to be a flower meadow because it's not really that big. This whole area is 4 meters by 3 meters. I bet it's plenty big. I think it's plenty big for me. So what I'm going to do with this area is there's going to be flowers around the outside. There's going to be like a little path here. So I'm going to walk in, then there's going to be like an oval bit. Now that's either going to be like long wild grass, or I'm very, very tempted to lay down a lawn wildflower mix, which is basically just a low flowering wildflower mix. I've seen it in the shop because I did have one at home, but it's expired now, and I need more than one anyway. So I'm really tempted to do that, because obviously the bees will like it as well, and it would be nice to sit down and have like a little picnic. So there's going to be that little area in the middle, just surrounded by flowers. There's already flowers here. I'm going to probably keep them. There's quite a few annuals, but there's also a few perennials. So there's some borage, there's some ranunculus, junior sunflower, which is out, delphinium, giant sunflower, foxglove, verbena, hollyhock, linarium, moricana. There's poppies, there's bunny's tail grass, there's oxeye daisies, there's dahlias, there's a beautiful allium which I got from the Gardener's World show. More verbena, I love verbena, more poppies, cosmos, calendula. That's about it for now. There's a few more to put in today as well. These are all spare from, they're all roughly the same as what I put around the pond area and all that. Some more scabious and things. But what I'm also going to do with this area is I'm going to mix up some vegetables with it. So my dad had these 4 sweet corn. He had these spare, so I thought I'll pop them in the flower patch. But what I want to do really is just make this bit look wild. So there is going to be some vegetables mixed in all the time. So there's going to be some rhubarb and some asparagus in there. That's going to stay there all the time. And then there's going to be like sweet corn and maybe some Swiss chards and some peas and things like that. There's also going to be a compost bin, which is going to go here. And I want to get one that's shaped like a beehive, just because I think it will look really nice. If you're going to have a compost bin, you might as well get one that looks nice. So that's going to go there. But there's also going to be a lot for the wildlife. So I want to have like a bird bath. I want to have a bug hotel, a hedgehog hotel, and of course they can all be hidden in the flowers, which will be really nice. Because I just want to look after the wildlife. I want this area to be for the wildlife and for me. Somewhere where I can come to relax, and hopefully when there's not a lot to do on the plot, I can just sit here and relax with a cup of tea and do some drawings or read a good book, and that will be me sorted. But I will just quickly mention that about this apple tree. Now, if you saw my last video, then you know that I planted my apple tree about here, so it's moved. It wasn't nicked or anything, I just moved it because I misjudged where the sun went, and when it was there it was overshadowing some of the surrounding plots, so I thought I'll move it, and actually I'm so much happier with where it is now, because really what I can see in my head, and I know it's going to take many years, but when this is grown, obviously the trunk will be up here. It will create a nice shade for me, because obviously the shade's here, my shadow's here. So it will create a nice shade on that little lawn bit, so I can sit there and have some shade, because I don't get any shade on my plot. And hopefully it will grow and it will create a nice like little arch, a little entrance over my gateway. So I'll have to sort of train it a little bit, but I just think that will look really nice. And I'm probably dreaming. I'm probably wishing that it does that, but I think if I train it a little bit, and maybe in like 10 years time, if I'm still here, I might not still have this plot, you never know. If not, I'm taking that apple tree with me. But I will just quickly mention that's a James Grieve apple tree. It's self-fertile. It's an MM106, so in about 10 years time it could grow 8 to 10 foot, but I'm not going to let it grow that much. I'm going to prune it. But that's this area. That's the plans. It's going to take, a year or two to get this part of the allotment established, because obviously when you lay down a wildflower mix, it takes a couple of years, because you have to stream it back and all that. So it's going to take a couple of years for it to be at its best. But I'm really excited to get started, and I'm just really excited about this part. Last but not least, I will just quickly mention about the trough. So there were tulips in there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove them. I did write down which varieties were put where, so I'm going to put them in bags when I take them up, so I know which varieties are which. And then I was going to put a courgette in there, but the slugs got my courgette. The courgette was at home in the cold frame and the slugs got it. I actually sowed 2, but the slugs got both. So I have a spare Crown Prince pumpkin, which I'm going to put in there. So he's going to go here, right, this end, then he's going to climb up this way. And then there's going to be the gherkin at the far end, and he's going to go up the trellis like he did last year. Don't know why I'm calling it he, it's a vegetable. But that's the trough. There's some gypsophila here, that's the baby's breath one, it's so beautiful. And it's grown so rapidly this year. There's also some lavender at the end of the archway, I don't think I mentioned that just now. And it's all out and it smells so lovely. I'm going to cut that and dry that. There's lemon balm and garlic chives. The herbs on the shed have pretty much died because they don't get the rain. That's like the second time I put something in the hanging baskets and they've died. So I think that was a really bad idea. Because they don't get the rain, because there's that overhang on the shed, they don't get any rainwater. And I do water them, honest, I do water them. But obviously it gets really dry as well. But I think that's about it. That is about it. So what I'm going to do today for the rest of the day is just put these flowers in. I'll dot them around, and then maybe mark out where I want that nice little meadow bit to be at the end. But it's really hot. I'm going to have to go over to my dad's allotment and have a little sit in his shade, because there's no shade here. But I hope you've enjoyed that little update. I will film an update on my dad's plot very soon, because you haven't seen his allotment either. But I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.